We have come to that place where understanding Kenyan politics has become a very slippery slope. So much so that there's no way you're going to be able to do it without depth. There is no way you're going to be able to do it without history. You can't avoid history. Now there's something which has happened over the last few hours that has never, ever happened before in our history. And not only that, it is something that Kenyans of old would never have imagined in their worst nightmares, in their dreams. They would never have imagined would happen one day within the borders of the country called Kenya. And this thing which has happened is so serious that it is difficult to convince anybody who understands that it is not game-changing. Folks, we have reached that place where somebody has rejected a donation from the President of the Republic of Kenya. That one has never happened before, and nobody has ever envisaged anything close unfolding in our dear motherland. I am sure you have heard that the Catholic Church has rejected donations given to Soweto Catholic Church by President William Samoei Ruto and Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja. But there is more. There is something which is much more disturbing. Yeah, as disturbing as that issue of rejection is, to somebody who understands the way a nation is run, the role of a president, etc., etc. There is still something much more serious than that, which is emerging very clearly. You see, the Catholic Church, in rejecting the donation, cited a brand new law recently hurriedly passed in Parliament that many Kenyans are not aware of. This is the Public Fundraising Appeals Bill 2024. The long and short of what the Catholic Church are saying is that according to that bill, the circumstances under which these donations were given were illegal, against the law, as per this brand new bill, which I know many Kenyans are still not aware of. You see, this new law says for you to raise money, you must have something called a permit. And therefore what the Catholic Church was saying is that those who gave these donations did not go through the process required by this brand new law passed by that very same government. Okay? Now, what is disturbing here, I'm sure you've already noticed, is that you're a government. You pass a new law. Of course, you're targeting some people. And then, the same law which you have passed hurriedly, using your usual kifua, comes back to haunt you. Hey! Hey! I should not even be laughing. Because you know what this tells us? This speaks to the decision-making process of this government. It tells us clearly the decisions at the highest level of our government are made carelessly. They are made without putting too much thought into them. They are made, indeed, even without information. How can you pass a law, then you forget about it? How? And there is more. Those who understand the Catholic Church will know that this decision was also made in ignorance. Okay, and I choose my words carefully. Why? Because there are some churches where a donation may not make such a big impact as it may make in another church organization. Okay, we have talked about this in my previous video. The Catholic Church is one of the wealthiest organizations in the entire world. This is not a church organization, the kind of church organization which are always having fundraisings for this, for that. No, that is not how the Catholic Church works. And therefore, in making this decision, didn't somebody stop and ask themselves, what church is this that we're making a donation to? How will it be received? A very simple question that would have guided people enormously. And there's still more. You know, you can decide to make some new friends, and therefore you make your donations very specific. Maybe to a certain priest, or to a project linked to that priest. Now, consider the following scenario. Your church organization has recently released a very strongly worded statement against the government, with blessings or orders from above, and you're working in this organization, you're a priest. Would you comfortably receive a donation from that same government? Would you comfortably do that, knowing that everything will be okay? Just think about it. You would definitely worry about what your bosses will think, wouldn't you? Yeah, that comes naturally. So, in making this decision to make a donation to the Catholic Church, why did the president's handlers fail to advise him on these very pertinent, relevant issues? Why? And I will tell you what is so scary about this. This may have been a small decision, maybe in your opinion, with small consequences. But you know, this implies that decisions right across the board are made in the same careless manner, without sitting down to analyze a situation, to think through a situation, before deciding to take a course of action, including some decisions that would affect millions of Kenyans negatively. That is the very obvious implication here. Now stick with me, and towards the end of my show today, I'm going to introduce a possibility. In fact, it's more than a possibility. I'm going to introduce to you something that may be happening here behind the scenes that is very, very scary. Although many Kenyans will feel very, very happy about it. I'm not one of those Kenyans. But then that is just me. Stick with me. We will look into that, and I'm sure and I'm sure it's going to take you completely by surprise. Now, that is not the only church problem the Ruto administration is facing currently. The Council of Churches in Nyanza province, the old Nyanza province, have come out and threatened to lead the people in civil disobedience. And of course, their first target is taxes. They have threatened to mobilize their congregants and the population to stop paying taxes to this government in civil disobedience. In fact, what these clergymen were saying, including ACK, top clergymen, what they were saying is that the opposition in Nyanza no longer exists. And what they're insinuating is that they're now stepping in to fill in that vacancy. Okay? Hey, these problems the Ruto government is facing Why do they just keep on coming one after the other, one after the other? What is happening? Hmm? But before we proceed, please allow me to introduce once again the sponsors for today's video. LemFi. This is an app for sending money. And so far I've received a lot of positive feedback. Yeah, it has many advantages. And you can also use my code, signifying that you heard about it from me. KUMEKACHA. Yeah, you can see it on your screens right now. I would strongly recommend that at least you try it and see how it goes. I am also keenly aware that we're heading towards that holiday season where a lot of people will want to use exactly such a service. Try it out and please let me know how it goes. Either way, if there is something we can all agree on, it is the following. When a government starts getting such serious problems from the church, and not only the church, including some very powerful church organizations, then there can be only one conclusion, and that is that government is in very serious trouble. You know, the Ruto administration came into power as a ticket strongly supported by the church. I know that the Catholic Church was not amongst the churches supporting this presidency, but many other churches right across the country strongly supported the Ruto candidature for the presidency. Politicians frequently called the other side waganga. Yeah, the Ruto presidency was the church. The Raila presidency, the other side, was the waganga, the witch doctors, etc., etc. However, vindu vichenjanga, because right now, those same churches, many of them who supported this presidency, are coming out and saying no. They're coming out, some of them very strongly and very openly, in support of a change of regime where this particular administration goes home. Okay? Most of them seem to be in agreement with the vast majority of Kenyans that this government has completely failed. This government has taken the country in a very wrong direction. And the result is that Kenyans are suffering. And the way to bring this suffering to an end is to bring an end to this administration and the presidency of William Samuel Ruto. That is the reality on the ground. That is what is happening in Kenya. Now, there are some of us who may not believe that the church is such a serious, powerful opponent for any government to have. And I know for sure most of those who would fall into this particular category are those who did not see the very powerful Moi presidency, and therefore did not see the big role that the church played in bringing down mighty KANU, a party that had led the country since independence for decades. Many did not see, maybe they were too young, they did not see the role of the church then, a very vital, important role it played. And all I can say to you is never underestimate the power of the church, whatever you believe. And indeed, history tells us very clearly that any government from hundreds of years ago, any government that was opposed by the church never survived. Okay? Maybe the Ruto regime will be the first. Wacha tungoje, tuone. Let's wait and see. But already, the handling of the churches by the government is creating even more problems for itself. For instance, this drama with the Catholic Church, where now that church has rejected a very generous donation in public And that's important, because it would have been possible for the church to politely decline, reject these donations in private. Na hiyo maneno ingeishia hapo. The public would not have been aware. But the Catholic Church has chosen to come out, mchana peupe, in public, to reject a very hefty donation from the President of the Republic of Kenya. Now, whichever way you want to read this, that cannot be a good sign for the Ruto presidency. Now, I hope you're ready for that scary thing I promised. Now, in my opinion, I do not think that it is a coincidence that the timing of these churches coming out so suddenly and so forcefully, to reject the Ruto presidency, I don't think that is an accident. I think that there could be some very powerful forces behind it. And those powerful forces, wait for this one, and those powerful forces may be closely linked to the same powerful forces who were of great assistance to William Samoei Ruto in making him President of the Republic of Kenya. Now, I'm not sure if you're fully absorbed what I have just said. And while we're still there, let me also throw in something else that happened recently. The US envoy to Kenya resigned. They decided not to wait for January. They decided not to wait until they recalled. They suddenly resigned. Now you throw in that event into all this drama that is happening in the churches, and especially with the Catholic churches, and tell me if you still think, if you still believe that that is a mere coincidence. Okay? In my opinion, there are telltale signs that actually these are not coincidences. That actually there are some very powerful people who are already looking ahead to a Kenya where Ruto will not be president. And what is happening is that they're trying to position themselves so that what is coming will also favor them in the same way that the Ruto presidency has favored these very powerful forces. I know that may be music in the ears of a lot of Kenyans, because after all, they just want Ruto gone. They don't care how. As long as Ruto goes, it is okay. It doesn't matter how he goes. However, in my opinion, it matters, because, in case you didn't know, our biggest problem here, apart from this presidency, has been some of those powerful forces. And therefore, situation where they remain influential in the country, in my opinion, is not a good idea. Please allow me to leave it there. Now, there is something else I would like to talk about briefly before I go. Now, in one of my earlier special reports, highly sensitive special reports, I went into great detail to discuss the character of number one, the character of the President of the Republic of Kenya. Now, I know many of us may have missed that special report, but in my opinion, it is very instructive. And now you have an opportunity. If you missed that particular special report, even if you missed the latest one, and if you missed others that you wanted to take a look at, for instance, the assassination of the late General Gola. Yes, it was an assassination. Okay? And many of the very controversial things that were brought up in that highly sensitive video have stood the test of time. If you want all these highly sensitive special reports, take a look at the details on your screens right now. and take action. Okay? For only Kenya shillings 1,999, you can have the whole lot. Please rush and take advantage, because, as you know, this offer is coming to an end at any time. Until next time, this is Chris KUMEKACHA.